planets themselves with Hypereditor. Or edit the planet's orbits with Hypereditor. Anyone fancy a planetary ring? That can get fun. This could get very, very fun indeed. So what's this? That's Midness. Loon. Orbit editor. There's Loon. And one thing that you can do with Hypereditor is that you can edit the orbits of asteroids. So if you were to go and track hundreds of asteroids, you can use the asteroid editor. Shoot me. You can use Hypereditor to edit the orbits of asteroids and place them anywhere in the system. So you can actually create your own asteroid belt around Jewel, for example, or around Kerbin itself. You can have a planetary blockade of asteroids all around Kerbin, that in order to launch out into the rest of the universe, you have to navigate your ship between the asteroids. That could be interesting. Loon, that's what we're looking for. Where is it? There. And there you go. Well, I've just done it. This is a perfect example of what happens when SOIs change. Right. The docking test ship was in orbit around Kerbin quite nicely. But now that Loon itself is within, well, the ship is now within Loon's SOI, it's overriding Kerbin's SOI, and it's actually going to fire it out. So it's saying Loon escape, even though strictly speaking Loon is orbiting Kerbin, so it should be within Kerbin's SOI. But it's being overwritten. So I can show you here right now. If we go to, where is it? Nope, nope. Oh, it's not in orbit editor, that's one. Planet editor. Loon. Alright. And we go into complex. And we're still in. I clicked on orbit editor again. There's Loon. Here we go, Sphere of Influence. That's a huge value for how close it's coming to Kerbin. So instead, zoom back in. Altitude is 5.5 million meters. So, well, let's make that about half that. So if we go to 2500123. Try and knock something off onto my keyboard. And then we hit apply. And this will go back into an orbit. As you can see, but because it's actually been moved out of KSP's orbit, it's no longer a perfect circle. But that shows you how the SOIs actually work within KSP. Another thing to watch out for is Loon actually has a orbiting planetary body. So you'll have to edit the SOI for that as well. Otherwise you will have a ruckload of problems keeping stuff on the surface of Kerbal. As I'm sure Shirty is having a ruckload of fun playing with at the moment. Let's have a look at chat. Yes, Skit, you're a mod. So, no, you don't abuse the rules. It might fix it, or you might have to use HyperEditor to put it back. Unless you've tried that already, Shirty. Mon versus Kerbalverse was fun though. Shirty, I wonder. Duel has no core, and in like 2.3.5 and some of the others, the core of Duel was the bright glowing eye. But in 0.90 they seem to have gotten rid of it completely, so that you can't actually see it. Which basically means when you drop through Duel's atmosphere into the void in the middle, you actually see space. I'm wondering if you can put another planet there. No, Skit, I meant in other channels. Oh, you've got that issue, Shirty. Yes, Danny discovered that, where you can destroy planets. But they were actually still there, you just destroyed the outer ball that makes up the height maps. And, of course, the texture mesh. So, there's 3 mods that people can install at will and completely and utterly change their game. Really? Is anyone else having that issue, or is it just Skit? Okay, Shirty's playing Asteroid Snooker. That's a bit loud. Well, the weird thing is... Hang on, let me just boost my microphone, hang on. Audio. Oh, well that's why. My microphone should be more like here. Sorry, I was waiting for chat to catch up then. I've just knocked it down from where it was. One of the settings. You should be able to distinguish me a little bit better. So yeah, one of the issues with reinstalling is if you completely forget to save your OBS scenes, and you end up remaking them, then you have to sort out all your volume levels. It's like being a DJ and having multiple music sources, except every time you connect them back up again for a night, you have to retune all the levels, basically. Yeah, it's tiresome. But I'm surprised it took like 2 hours before someone told me. Anyway, yes, as I was saying, Skit, you're a mod in quite a few other channels, so I would expect you to follow the rules. And if you don't, you and I both know what's going to happen. So no misbehaving in my channel just because you're not a mod. So anyone in chat, anything that we've been over in the last 2 hours, is there anything that you want to ask me a question about? Anything that you want me to re-explain, etc, etc? Mic boost is too high now. Okay, how about that? I'm glad to hear it, Skip. Thank God you guys can't see my face. Yes, definitely still trying to keep this stream family friendly, even after reading that. Really? And chat's not on my OBS stream again. There we go. Hard to say till I'm talking normally. Would this help you determine my volume levels, Shirt? Once I get them dialed in, then I'll remember the settings for Friday. Wonderful. So while I'm here, save settings, turn that. So nobody else on the channel has shouted for any questions. I know Shirty will be playing around with Planet Ping Pong for probably tonight, tomorrow night, and the entire weekend. I'm going to be completely rearranging all these new planets. Now, what I wanted to do is take a quick look. Is there any more planets, basically? Oops, wrong window. Yep, there are plenty of other planets, so I have a lot of things that I can play with. Lone Wolf is just lurking. Is there any way to make the nodes and nav balls easier to read? In what way are you having trouble having them? Well, it's an off-topic question, but I can answer the question. What sort of trouble are you having? Now, I know the nodes can be a bit pesky to click on at times. I usually just rotate the camera in order to be able to click on the nodes properly, but that's not behave. In what way don't you get them? Just need a clarification here. Do they not show up on your nav ball, or don't you see them? Can you do a screen cap for me, Skit, and chuck a link in chat? There's no Nightbot, so you don't need to ask for permission. Oh, you see them, but you don't get them. Are you asking what they're for? Ah, right. Right. Orbital mechanics. Normally I'd throw you over to Des Valdez, but I don't think he's streaming at the moment. Hang on. I need to go and hyper-edit something into orbit for you. So, let's just go and create a simple little pod. We'll give it a small tank of fuel. I'm going to waste too much time. And a liquid engine. And there's your pod. Okay. I'll run through some orbital mechanics, see if I can help you out. But just bear with me. I'll just set this up for you. Right. Somewhere around here is Kerbin. There we go, we're high in Kerbin orbit. So, you're asking about the nav ball here, and you want to know what they are, and what the pink ones are. Is that correct, Skit? Right, so Skit, you're asking about the pink triangles and the blue circles. Right. Okay, let me show you in the map view in here. At some point I really need to go and change that orbit, but oh well. As you can see here, the blue circle here shows you your orbit. Right. If you point radial to your orbit, you're pointing out at 90 degrees to your path to expand your orbit. So pointing radial is, in this case, straight out like that from the planet. Now, depending on your orbit, if your orbit was, say, more like that, then it would be down here. You've got two directions in your orbit. As you're flying round, you've got two directions. If you consider up and down being, down is facing towards the body that you're orbiting, then by pointing radially, you're going to be pointing the ship away from what you're orbiting. So by burning radially, you'll expand this part of your orbit. So without changing your inclination or anything like that. So you'll just basically add velocity going in, well, you're adding velocity in that direction, which will make you go basically that way. So this part of your orbit will balloon out. Whereas if you pointed prograde, it would actually balloon this part of the orbit out. Well, that part and that part. So by pointing radially, you balloon this part, rather than if you point prograde, you'll balloon that part. Now the angry triangles are to change your inclination without changing the eccentricity of your orbit. So burning radially changes the eccentricity, but burning sort of normal and anti-normal, the pink triangles, changes your inclination. So if I show you, right here on the nav ball, it says you're pointing north, which if we look straight at the planet like that, it's straight up that way. So if we start burning now, it would help if I activated the engine. Right, we're constantly burning towards the normal, towards the pink triangle. And as you can see, it's rotating the inclination of the orbit. But it's not changing the eccentricity of the orbit. And likewise, if we point anti-normal, it's going to push it down again. If you use SAS, it will always stay on the pink. If you start deviating from the pink triangles, normal and anti-normal, you will start ballooning your orbit at the same time. So if you want to rotate your orbit, the best thing that you can do is to use the SAS to keep following the normal and anti-normals. Because as you can see here, the normals and anti-normals are not in the same place as you're burning. Now, that's completely different than when you are doing a maneuver node. If I show you here, say we create a maneuver node there. Right. As you can see, you have the 3 pairs of basically directions that you can burn in. So you've got retrograde and prograde there, which are the green ones. Get rid of this. But you've also got your pink triangles, which are normal and anti-normal, and you've got radial and anti-radial. So, if I show you here, if we grab the pink triangle here, we rotate up. But because we're using a maneuver node, we also blow it out. But that's more towards because of where I am in the orbit. And how the maneuver node itself actually works. If you do a manual burn, right, and you stay on the normal line, then you will just rotate the orbit around where your ship is. But the maneuver nodes work on a slightly different principle. So not only do you have to drag the angry triangle, the pink triangle, you also have to grab the green one as well and pull that back. Come on. I might have grabbed too much of it. There we go. In order to keep the same orbit. There's 2 different orbital mechanics between using the nav ball and using a maneuver node. So you don't have to use the nav ball at all, no. Right. But creating maneuver nodes all the time isn't always the easiest. There are times when I completely ignore maneuver nodes and just use the nav ball. Usually on approach to docking. If, for example, something hasn't quite gone right with the docking intercept, you're too close to the object to dock with to create a maneuver node for it. So the only thing that you've got left then is the nav ball. So as long as you don't screw up the docking intercept with your maneuver nodes, then you'll be fine. So some people find it easier to use just the nav ball for changing SOIs, etc. And some people would rather use maneuver nodes. Does that help a bit? It's you. Right. If you're using just the maneuver nodes, the only things that you need to worry about is your targeting reticule on the nav ball and which is a light pink one, which shows you the direction towards your target and away from your target, and the blue reticules, which show you the direction of your maneuver node. So that's if you were using just maneuver nodes. They're the only ones really that you need to worry about. The only exception to that is obviously getting into orbit, in which case you need to know where your prograde marker is, which is the green ones, which you don't have a problem with. So we're now seeing some very funky maneuvering done with maneuver nodes while watching the stream, because with the maneuver nodes you're not actually making any corrections, you're just planning them. So this dotted line, you can make it go wherever the hell you want. In fact, if you edit the KSP settings ini file and increase your conics draw limit, you can actually see your trajectory wiggle and wind throughout the entire system. But as you're using this, you can pull these too much in one direction, and then you'll be completely confused as to which one's going to do what. You're going to end up shooting off at some ridiculously high velocity if you're not careful. So if I keep pulling this one up and up and up and up and up and up and up, you can actually see it here. That's how much delta V that's needed to execute that maneuver node, just by pulling this up, which isn't, well, which is basically just making me fire off in that direction. And if I pull this one back, yeah, that's still increasing your delta V. So do that one, up, starts decreasing now. But eventually, it's decreasing, still decreasing. Still got the same one, and now it's increasing again. So even using maneuver nodes, you can get yourself into a royal pickle. There you go. Pulling the retrograde, it's decreasing, and then it stops decreasing and starts increasing again, even though we're pulling the exact same one. So sometimes maneuver nodes can get you into a very awkward position. And basically most of us learn sort of orbital mechanics basically by crashing and doing something, basically by doing a dam. Yes, I saw the opportunity to use that one and decided to go for it. But don't tell him I said that. So it's a case of, to figure out what maneuver nodes are doing, is a case of playing with them. Stick a ship in orbit that you really don't care about, it's nice and small, and play around with the maneuver nodes and see what does what fires you off in what direction, and then basically use the nav ball ignore the maneuver node, use the nav ball and point at the normal, anti-normal, and thrust off in that direction and see what it does to your orbit. And then point radially, which I haven't actually demonstrated. Bear with me. I'll just reset my orbit back to 1 million and then get rid of that because it's no longer valid. So if we now point radially, you can see from the nav ball itself that's pointing straight up, which is that direction. So what happens when we burn? It blows this part of the orbit out and shrinks this one. So likewise, if we point anti-radially and burn, it's blowing the back end of the orbit out and shrinking the front end. Now because of your velocity, it will make this blue basically, because you're making your orbit eccentric. The math part. Yeah, the math part can get very difficult very quickly. I'm just trying to think of a very simple way of describing some of it. Is there any specific section of the math part that you're having trouble with? Oh, right. When to burn. Just bear with me while I try and figure out how to explain this in English. Or at least attempt to. Okay, I think I know a way. Not that I've been asked this question before. Right, let's assume this is your craft and you've put it into a wonderful, nice orbit. Now, if you're transferring out to, in this case, Loon, right? What will happen is, if you try and fly it in a straight line for it, gravity from Kerbin itself will pull you over in an arch. Right, so firing straight for it will only get you to it if you apply millions amount of thrust. However, you can get to it by allowing your orbit to curve up to a point like over here, for example, where your orbit and its orbit would cross. Yeah, hang on with that one, Shirty. So when do you burn? is a calculation between it's between the gravity of both planets, or if you're rendezvousing with a ship, that'd be the ship, but let's assume it's two planets. The velocity and height of your current orbit, and the speed of the other planet and its orbit. It's I'm pretty sure Daz will explain this better than I can. You've got, when we talk about burn windows, that is generally the most ideal point of starting your burn that is most efficient and uses the least delta V to get there. However, what it doesn't mean is that that is the only burn that you can do. You can use more fuel to get there at different times. So, for example, Scott Manley has been put up a couple of videos lately about getting to the Mun and back within 1 hour of game time, and he made this super huge rocket to get there and back within an hour game time. So yes, you can burn straight for something and apply loads and loads of thrust and get there and get back again without having to do orbital mechanics. Or you can do all the orbital mechanics and do your orbits and calculate how to do it. It's kind of a combination between building a massive great big ship and figuring out how to launch it in one piece, and the difference between setting up all your orbits, transferring out or in, well, yes, Skip, but I did also say anything that we covered tonight. I did say, is there any questions for anything that we've covered tonight? But because it's new, I don't mind explaining orbital mechanics, or at least trying to. But it's not something I usually get asked. I mean, the stuff that we've been doing on the stream here to do with these orbits of planets and basically tweaking them, you can throw in random values and you'll make them do all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But the orbital mechanics that you're on about is basically ship mechanics. Very careful how I said that. So does that help at all, Skit? I mean, a lot of it is going to be sort of playing around, really. You know, I recommend sort of starting a completely fresh sandbox, creating a small little ship, basically like this, enabling infinite fuel, and just going for a blast around the Kerbalverse. Just for a joyride, so to speak. Ah, no, Shirty. I know that one. Wonderful. I'm glad I helped, Skit. Feel free to PM me any questions. I can always do a stream just for you. Okay, Shirty. Right. Grabbing asteroids. I found this one out. Orbit editor. There's an asteroid. Right. Let's put it in at 100 kilometers. Select body, Kerbin, set. There it is. Oh, so we'll switch to the tracking station. Right, go and track it. There's its orbit. I think this is what you're getting at. If you then go to the next asteroid and you want to put it in a 100 kilometer orbit and you say set, it doesn't appear. The truth is it has. It's inside the other one. What you need to do is to go, if you click on graphical here, you've got augmented perigee, or periapsis I should say. If you then change this, you'll change where it's putting the asteroid in its orbit. I think that's what you've done 180 degrees. Well, it should be around the other side. Are you sure you're putting it into the right SOI? To make sure the body is set to the right place, because it will change the default. Ah, right. Nope, it is there. The thing is, these icons in the map are massive compared to what their actual physical size is. So as you can see, this one is that one over there that I put in first is a great big massive E-class. Whereas that one is also an E-class. What are the odds of that happening? Grabbing two E-classes. But the point is, orbits are identical. If they're identical, then they'd always be the same distance apart. So they would have to be within 2.4 kilometers of each other before it actually, because the asteroids are so small and because they're classed as a ship rather than a planet, they would have to be within 2.4 kilometers to get loaded properly. But at 2.4 kilometers, even an E-class would just be a single dot. And also, physics doesn't run unless it's within about 200 meters of your active vessel. Which might be what you're getting at. what you might have to do is to dock a pod or computer module to a asteroid so that you can, excuse me, my apologies stream, that just suddenly come up. So if you dock a remote unit onto an asteroid or a pod, then it will class the asteroid as an active vessel and properly simulate physics. I think that could be what you're getting at as well. But in order for physics, as I said, for physics to be calculated, it has to be within 200 meters-ish of the active vessel. Oh, looks like KSP TV has just gone active. Really? But if they're on identical orbits, then how can there be any difference in velocity? Ah, now I know what you mean. Right. No, it definitely does draw multiple asteroids at the same time, trust me, on that one. And it will simulate the physics. So basically what you're saying is, why don't the two asteroids collide? Are you able okay, that's weird. What do you mean I've exited host mode? Yeah, oh well. Must be a message finally catching up with it. Are you able to dock your active vessel onto Asteroid 1? If you are, or if you can dock an active vessel to it, see if it still does it with your focus on the active vessel, which is now the asteroid. That always could be a bug with KSP. Go and try that. Go and claw it, and then see if it'll collide with your focus being on the asteroid itself. See you later, Skit. I'll probably see you in somebody else's stream in a bit. well, you're probably in Igor's stream, so chat rather. So I may well join you over there in a bit. But see you later. Yeah, try that, Shirty. Make one of the asteroids the active vessel, and then see what happens. The only thing that I can think of is that the asteroids really aren't that big, and if there's even like less than a 0.1% difference in the orbits, even though you have hyper-edited it, then they will miss each other. Oh, it's Dan streaming as well. Oh, he's there. Say hi to Dan for me. Oh, he's doing a moon base. I might join Dan then. You know, that's really annoying. I've got the choice between Igor or Dan. Oh, Oak's streaming as well. Yes, everybody in my chat, people that you're going to want to watch. You've got Shimmy the JJ currently streaming. Right. You've got Oaktree42 streaming. Right. KSP TV themselves are streaming. You've got Igor Pursue. Oh god, I'm going to butcher this now. Igor Pursue Perisco. And you've got Danger Dan 00. Now, depending on what you're looking for in a stream, if you're looking for a lot of comedy, then come on over to Danger Dan 00. It's usually quite comical over there. You've got Oaktree. I'm not quite sure what he's streaming at the moment, but usually he's streaming the MKS and OPS mods for KSP, so he's actually playing the game. Igor's doing a dual 5 mega build, so you've got a huge ship for the dual 5 system. And then Shimmy, well, does all sorts. He's doing the Duna colony at the moment. So follow all those guys. Feel free to take a look at my follow list for people to follow. Feel free to follow me, and I'll follow you back. Hyper-edit is accurate to 1 centimeter. Playing Skyrim. Yeah, I noticed he was playing Skyrim. Links. Now, why, yes. Now, Lone Wolf's just trying to be awkward because he knows I haven't done it. No, he's not being lazy, he's just being awkward. Right. So, streamers that are currently streaming are... We've got Shimmy as the link. I will probably host Danger Dan. we have Oak Tree. And there's KSP TV. And now my Flash has decided it doesn't want to play ball. Come on, Firefox. I'm going to chuck everyone over to my screen caps. Because I think Firefox has just balked on me. Oh, there we go. Right, link to Igor. And then we have Danger Dan. Hey presto. So, I'm going to call it there for tonight. Now, Friday night is going to be a little bit of a weird one. Going to be kicking off basically a stream series that is actually going to show you filming of basically a KSP series that I started back in July called KSP Life, Universe and Everything. Anyone that's watched I've forgotten his name now. Don't you just hate it when someone's name falls out your ears? How was it? Anyone that watches Bob Fitch on YouTube, highly recommend that you do so. In which case I will drop the link in chat. If you've been watching any of his videos, basically the Project Odyssey ones, that is a sort of mini-series, sort of storyline based around KSP. I started doing my series after watching the first parts of that, and thought it was a really good idea, and decided to start doing it. Unfortunately, my personal life got in the way and I can no longer update the series. So, I will be picking that up, except all the filming, all the ship design, space station design, and getting them into orbit, etc., setting up scenes for filming, will all be done live on Twitch, so you can see sort of basically how I do it, which is probably the unprofessional, cheap way of doing it. And so the basically the Kerbalverse Wednesdays and the Film Fridays kind of start going hand in hand, because the stuff that I change on Wednesday will be basically a part of the filming on Friday, and probably over the weekend as well, because there's a lot of filming to do, a lot of scenes to set up, etc, etc. But on Friday we're actually most likely going to be running to 3.5 rather than 0.90, because I originally started the series in 23.5, which was the latest version out in sort of June. So we've got to take the set that we had there and, well, something in inverted commas is going to happen that will allow us to update to the Kerbalverse that you've just seen me do. Something. As I said, if you've been keeping an eye on Bob Fitch, then you're going to know what he did to change it. So we'll have to come up with something funky. Mondays is Mod Mondays. Doing a little bit of mod dissection tonight. Most of that will be done on Mondays. So just thought I'd do a little bit of both, so you can actually demystify the stuff that I was doing. So it's not all magic and goblins to put that stuff into KSP. So Mondays, I'll be taking a random mod. Feel free to PM me with suggestions, and I'll be unpacking it and show you what can be edited and what can't be edited using nothing but Notepad. So I'm going to sign off here because I've been going for over 3 hours and I want to drink and whatnot, and it's also getting quite late here because I'm in Cape Town. So feel free to send me PMs. Most of them I'll reply to. If you're asking me a question, it may well get featured on a live stream. If it's something very specific to you, then I'll probably just reply within the message itself. So that's going to be all from me for tonight. I will see you again Friday night if I don't do an ad hoc stream tomorrow night. Bye for now.